Hey guys, welcome to Recraft Relic channel, and I hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to talk about a little bit of TypeScript, and yeah, I'm just going to walk you through some basics. I have a list going on here, and it will be like, a pretty basic, a pretty starting point for you to check out with TypeScript. So yeah, let's start. Yeah. So I'm going to set up a React sample React project because I'm going to be using that to show you the TypeScript basically, right? So I'm just going to Google and say I want to set up a React tab with TypeScript, and yeah, that's so. React basically the create React tab basically allows you to create a package with create a project with TypeScript already enabled, so we're going to use it. Yeah, I think I just have to open the terminal one sec. Yeah. Let's change directory to projects. Change that to projects. Change that to live. Yeah, let's create a package here, and instead of my app we'll call it TypeScript Basic, TypeScript, So I'm trying to wrap up the video as soon as possible. I always kind of pass the 30-minute threshold, but I'll try to keep it inside 30 minutes basically. So the project is getting set up, and yeah, so if you guys don't know about TypeScript is basically a superset of JavaScript. It's kind of you can say kind of a language, and it basically allows you to do more with JavaScript. And the most important part of TypeScript is that it enables static type checking into JavaScript. So now, because JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, that means that a variable you don't have to define type of the variable, right? A variable can hold any kind of you know any kind of types inside it. So like a number can hold a string and all that. But with TypeScript, what you do, you still are writing JavaScript, but what TypeScript helps you do is that it helps you define types. So it will enable, you can write your code with more confidence. You don't have to worry about that this variable, it's a it's a number, and now we are saving strings, and which causing memory issues and all that stuff, right? So I have the package here. I'm just going to go inside the TypeScript basic and just do a yarn start. I'm going to open that here as well. Where it is? Sync projects live, TypeScript basic. Yeah, I'm gonna open that, and here you can see the application as well. So yeah, let's start. Where do we tell this? We actually don't need much of visual changes here, but yeah, I mean, let's just keep the window open. Okay, so let's start. So I have the app.tsx. So whenever you use TypeScript with React and all, so all of your even with JavaScript, all your extensions become TS rather than JS. And there is a compiler TSC, which is in the place which like ultimately TypeScript will be converted to JavaScript, because a browser can't directly interpret TypeScript, so it still have to convert it to JavaScript. So in order to do that, basically there is a compiler TSC, which is pre-installed when you do create React app with TypeScript, and it helps us basically convert the TypeScript into JavaScript basically, and then let us run that in the browser. All right, So let's start. Yeah. So um we'll start with some easy stuff. So for example, how can you define a normal string or a normal number with TypeScript, and what is the benefit of it? So for example, I'll go here and I'll say const, let's say let stir. So stir is a string for me, okay? So and something like this, so it will work fine, right? This is fine. This is like how it's supposed to do, it's supposed to be. So I'm going to console it, console.log stir here, and I'm just going here, go here and show you. So I'm going to save this, and you can see like an empty string here because it's empty as of now. So now I'm going to go here and yeah, so now I'm going to define its type. So if you're writing normal JavaScript, this is not a valid syntax, but when you're typing TypeScript, when you're using TypeScript, this is a valid syntax. So how it works is basically you define you type a colon and you say the type of the variable, right? What kind of type you want to give to this variable. Okay. So now you can see the string, and I have assigned an empty string. So now let me assign a number. You can see it throws an error. The type number is not assignable to type string because we have specified specifically that str will be a string, not a number. All right, so now I can define, like I can't assign it a number. For example, if I keep it like ts, right, it will work fine, it will console the ts. But if I go here and say star equal to uh, you know JavaScript, it will work fine because it's a string. But if I go here and say it's a number, then it will again throw the same error, that the type number is not assignable to type string basically. All right, so I think you get the point. So the benefit of TypeScript is that you can enable static type checking like this. What are the benefits of it? The benefit of it is something like this. So for example, something like this, I don't know, right, something like this. So for example, let's say you have a number, right? Like num, and you define that it's a number, and you say that it's a 1, right? Let's say we don't have TypeScript and we are using normal JavaScript. So now in my code somewhere, because we are writing code with, when we in the real world, when we write code, we work with a lot of people, right? We are not the only one who is writing the code, and there are a lot of people making modification and everything. So for example, someone said something like this, right? What happened? All right, so because I have TypeScript already enabled, it's showing me the error. But let's say I disable the TypeScript for this line. Can I? Okay. So I'll show you what tsignore is. But for example, just tsignore just do one thing, which it says that you can disable the TypeScript checking, and it will disable the TypeScript for that line, basically, the upcoming line. So what I'm doing here is that, for example, in normal JavaScript, you have number equal to 1, and then you assign a string to it. Someone assigns a string to it. You know that it takes a number, but someone assigned a string to it, right? And if you go here, it will output something like this. But this is not the real output you wanted to see, right? You wanted to see something like this. You wanted to see 2 because you wanted to plus the numbers, right? But in this case, what happened is that you assigned a string. Somehow it can be dynamically assigned, or it can come from an API. There can be some case where it will be a string. But if you have ts TypeScript enabled, you can't do something like this, because it says that it was a number, so you can't assign a string to it. So you right away know that there is an error, and you will not run into a runtime error, a production error. You'll get you'll get that at the editor level. So that is the benefit of the string of you know the TypeScript. So now, for example, this is great. So you can define, a string, a number. You can define a array. So for example, I do something like this, and then so for example, array is a array of numbers. So what I'm going to do is something like this: number and then array, and equal to this. So now if I go ahead and type 1, then it will throw me an error that type number is not assignable to type number array. Now if I do something like this, so you can see it goes away, because now I'm giving it a number of array, like array of numbers, right? Sorry. So, and then the same way you can be like array star, for example, and you just go and just say string array, and if again if you define something like this or this, it will throw error because it's not an array. And you can just be like this, Manoj, for example. Now it will work, right? Because it's a array of string. Okay, so this is great. So I think you get like the idea of what is TypeScript is. So you can define types basically, and that's, so these are like literals, string numbers, and you can define their types. You can define the type of a array, right? And now let's move to a little bit complex topic, which is objects. So how you will define the type of an object, and why is it beneficial? All right, so let's imagine this. So for example, you have an object, okay, and that's a person. All right, and that person basically takes a name, all right, a age, for example, like this. So now if I console this is like this, right? So I'll get the name Manoj is Android 3 and all that, which is good, great. So what if I try to do this person? So for example, I am trying to give it incomplete information. For example, just a name, right? Just a name. And when you do this, it will throw an error that property age is missing in type but required in type this. So basically it's telling you that there should be age as well. All right, but so one important thing to understand about TypeScript and the editors as well is that TypeScript is smart enough. So for example, if you are not giving the type of the person, it is getting the type from this object as well. So for example, if you hover over this, you can see this person. It already defined what a name type will be, a age type will be, but you can also specify that specifically. All right, so now you can see the person, it throws error because person should also have an age. You can assign just any object into it. So this will solve a lot of problem. For example, if you try to assign an empty object, where you need the information and the API doesn't give you better good for some reasons you are trying to assign an empty array, like empty object to it, and it will throw error because you need the information, right? If you don't fill out the information, then your code will fail basically. Okay, so Now how we define and type of an object. Right now it is automatically taking it up, but what if you want to define the type of the object? So how you're going to do is something like this. So let's say create, like type this thing here, and let's define person here. So it's it. So rather than person, let's say applicant. So applicant is a type of person, okay? And now how you define a type of an object? So here in the TypeScript we call it interface, okay? So an interface is basically a type of an object, and I'm going to define an interface called person, and I'm just going to go here and define what kind of property it has. So for example, it have a name which is type of string, and now you can see the validation, right? So now in the person is in this applicant, I'm trying to give it a age, but interface says that I don't have age. So you can see the error here. Type name string is not assignable to type person. Object literal object literal may only specify known property, and age does not exist in type person. So it says that, you know what, the age is not age doesn't exist in the person, so I'm not going to let you assign it, which is a good thing, because maybe you are assigning unnecessary property which is not needed. The other thing is, for example, you can also do something like this. So age, if you do age number, then it's, you don't have to put actually comma here. So if you do a age number, then it's fine, because it says, you know what, you have all the property which were needed. But then there is another thing which we call an optional property or an optional type, which is something like this. If I put a question mark here, right? So now you don't have to specify age, because it says that applicant can have name is required, but age can be optional. You can provide it, you can't provide it, TypeScript will not throw an error, basically. So for example, now this will work, because now one sec. So now this will work because the age property is optional. The name property is there, but the age property is optional. I can specify a age if I want, but it's not necessary. Alright. Then there is another type of validation, which is something like this. So for example, if I'm going to try class and say 12 or something, right? Or I can say masters, right? So in that you can see, right, that it says object literal may only specify known property and class does not exist in type person. So it's kind of put a check that you have to specify that property. And if I go in here and I comment the name thing out, then it will be like that you can only specify known property and name does not exist in type, the same thing, right? So you can't specify something which does not exist, basically. And if something exists and you don't specify that, right, then it will throw the error that, you know what, name is missing in this. So you have to provide the required properties, and you can also change properties to optional. So yeah, you can do that too. So yeah, man, now you know how you can define objects and everything, right? Like the types for an object. Again, now let's see, I want to have an array of applicants, like how I can create an array of array of persons. So what I'm going to do is something like this: let applicants and person array. So now you can see the extensibility of it, right? So let's have a look at that. So applicants is an array of person. So an array can be of string and number, and you can also leverage these interfaces to create arrays. So for example, let applicant person array, right? And now in that array only you can only specify person objects. If you don't specify person object, if you specify arbitrary objects or like a string or number, it will fail. So for example, if I go here and say 1, then it will throw error that 1 type number is not assignable to type person. All right, so that's one thing. So if I go here and I say like name Manoj and age 23, then it will be fine. It will not throw an error because you know you specify all the properties that you needed. But let's say the second element I define a string, right? Then it will be like, you know, this type string is not assignable to type person. So basically, if you get the gist of the whole TypeScript thing, if you understand the core working of TypeScript, it's just for type checking, you know, so you can write your applications with confidence that your code will not fail when there is like an arbitrary type introduced. Because if an arbitrary type is introduced, or you are trying to assign some properties which are not meant to be assigned, then in that case, you know, in that case, TypeScript will throw error. So that is that. So now you know how to define like interfaces, right? So now let's take this a bit further. So now, for example, let me remove all of these, all this. Yeah. So now let's say I have an applicant. Let it define here. So I have an applicant which has a name and age, but then I have you know, an extra thing called like a car. What kind of a car applicant, not a car, but like say you know, laptop, what kind of a laptop that person have, like, but the laptop in itself is an interface. All right, so now how I'm going to give it a type, you know, I can't give it a type. So in that case, extensibility of TypeScript comes in place, and now you can define interfaces inside interfaces. All right, that's very cool. So for example, I can say that laptop is a type of laptop, you know, and then I can define laptop interface as well. So for example, I can go here and say interface laptop, and then I can say name of the laptop, which is a string, and then I can say model of the laptop, which is also a string, and then I can say launch day, launched year, and I can be like you know, a number. So now if I go here applicant and I'm like this, that's the type of person. So if I try to give it an empty object, you can see like it says applicant is that this type is missing the following property from the type person, name and laptop, right? So it is not showing age because age is optional as well. So now I'm going to go here and say name Manoj, right? And then when I say laptop, it will, I have to like go nested inside it, and I'll be like name MacBook Pro, model 13-inch, right? And the launched year will be launched year will be a number, so it will be 2020, right? So now you can see, right, it doesn't throw error. But if I go here and comment this, then it will throw error that launched the expected type comes from property to whatever property launched year is missing in this type. So you have to specify launched year. But if I go here and make it optional, then everything is fine, right? Again, this is important. Why this is important? Because you want to write your code with confidence that, you know what, if you, so for example, this model, right, it is being used here, for example, console.log console log applicant, make it a template, applicant have a laptop with model. And for example, if I go here, you know, and I'm like this, so let's see hello model, and I'm like applicant dot laptop dot model, and then I say like I do something like this, right? This will work, right? Actually, I'd have a laptop with model 13 inch, but for example, let's see, I didn't have a laptop, like this. So right, and or I can remove the person as well. I don't need this. So for example, I didn't have the TypeScript, right? So I didn't have the TypeScript, and and I didn't provided a laptop to the applicant, for example. Then this will be this will throw error because cannot read property model of undefined, because laptop is undefined now. So this is like it will help you write your code with confidence that that laptop will be defined. If laptop is not defined, then our code will not be compiled. As you can see, it is not compiled. So that is important basically. So yeah, that's great. And now we can see that it has the property. So yeah, I mean, and again, you can also extend it to like laptop can have another interface and all that. So you can keep nesting it if you want to. You can also provide like an array. So for example, on habits, not jabbits, habits, and you can say string, a string like this, and yeah, then you have to define the habits here. So I have to again define the person right? And habits, and you can be like like habits, writing, maybe just comment, right? So now I mean, you can also add array of strings to your interface or any kind of array basically. So that is that. I think interfaces are done. Let's see what on next on my list. How to define like performance. Okay, so next, like it's actually my favorite thing. So it is like defining types of a function, because it's really important to define a type of a function. The reason behind that is most of the time we are going to reuse someone else's function, and if we don't know what kind of argument it takes and what kind of return value it provides, then it's like a hell. Basically you have to ask that guy, or you have to go and figure out it yourself. So let's define a function here. Const say my name, right? Or say a name, say name, and I go like this. It takes this function basically takes an argument of string, for example name string, and then it returns a string. Why I'm doing it like that? Let's do sum, which is much more easier. Sum, it takes a, and which is type of number, then it's b, which is a type of number, right? And then it returns a number, and then I say return a plus b. I go here and I remove this thing, and I say 1 plus 1. Why I'm saying 1 plus 1? It should be 1 comma 1, right? Because it takes 2 arguments. So now you can see so this is how we define like types for a function. So obviously you have the name and everything, right? Then you define, so for example we have 2 parameters, you can say. So first parameter is a, which is a number, and then b, which is also a number, right? And then we have a return type. So how you define a return type is something like this. So after the parenthesis you say like this colon, and then you say the return type. So if I say the return type is a string, then you can see this will fail, because it says the type number is not assignable to type string, because if you plus a plus b, which is both are number, then it will output a number, right, when you plus them. So right now it throws an error that it can't return. So this is really useful, right? Why it is useful? Because for example, you have written a code, you have written a piece of code or written a function which can be reused by people, and then now those people, like those your team members are coming and they're like changing your function, and maybe they are changing a return type which can affect a lot of your code, which like where you have previously used your function. Because if you if you require a function to return an array of type strings, and someone modifies it to return a type, like return a number, then you are in like a bigger mess. Because now right, because that person didn't know that it's supposed to return only an array, and now all of your code is messed. So this is one of the most important benefit of TypeScript, is that if someone is trying to change your return type, they will get this error that you can't return it, and then they can come to you and then ask why you have put something like this and how you can change it, right? So yeah, I mean that is how you define basically type of an like type of function. You can obviously go on and create yeah, one other thing is this. So if I go number here, so it is a number, and now for example here in the sum, I know that I have to pass a or b as a number. So for example, if I go here and pass it as a string, it will throw error that you can't pass string. And that is really good, right? Because as a consumer of the function, for example, if I'm using the code inside using the function inside my code, then I should know what kind of things it receives, so we don't run into errors basically. So if I didn't knew that it takes a number, I may have provided it a string, and then it should be like 11, not 2, right? So here you go again, the type checking. The other thing is as well, the optional types. For example, you don't care if if b is provided or not, then you can put like an optional question mark here. But here again you see object is possibly undefined because it's an optional argument. So TypeScript is telling you beforehand that maybe someone will not provide it, and then this code will fail basically. So this is that. Yeah, I mean that is one thing. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it actually. I have gone through all of my list, and yeah, I mean this is TypeScript. I am okay. I crossed the 30 minutes limit, but yeah, I mean that is that. So this is basics of TypeScript. If you guys have any kind of questions, just let me know in the comments. You can always reach me out through the comments and let me know what kind of video should I create next. And I hope this will clear your understanding, or at least convince you to start using TypeScript. So yeah, I mean if you guys need like an advanced tutorial on TypeScript, I will happy to do that. And yeah, guys, I'll go on do a live stream next Saturday. So till then, bye. Yeah, have a nice day.